All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Carter Hill. How's it going, man?
Good, Casey. How are you? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. Just kind of tell everybody, just introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Carter Hill. I am a sophomore in the sports media and analytics program here at Virginia Tech. So I broadcast, I write, and I podcast and do kind of all three for multiple different platforms that, I'm all equally grateful for. So it's a fun time. I grew up in Blacksburg and kind of grew up a Hokie, and now to get to do this in college and to write and broadcast and cover tech sports and travel and see them play in different places is a whole lot of fun. So that's kind of my background. So always been tied to the Hokies and glad to be here. And I can't believe I'm almost halfway through college, which is crazy to think about.
Why did you want to get into this?
Jeez, I don't know. So growing up, I played baseball. I was always a big sports guy, and always loved attending Virginia Tech sporting events, whether at Lean Stadium or Castle Coliseum or English Field or Tech Softball Park, you name it. Grew up loving the Hokies. And it's funny because actually, I always thought maybe I'd want to pursue something in sports media. I always knew I wanted to pursue something in sports. Sports media was kind of a possibility. And then it really became a possibility when COVID hit. And, I always wanted to come to Virginia Tech, but I also, I had in my back pocket, I did a lot of stuff surrounding marketing in high school. And I really liked the idea of sports marketing or sport management. And I had a friend in high school that went down to South Carolina. She actually worked the Super Bowl her freshman year down in Miami. And so I was kind of in between at that point. It was my junior year of high school. It was before COVID hit. And I'm like, do I want to do sport management or do I want to maybe pursue sports media? And I went down to South Carolina, and actually, to be totally honest, I loved it. To my parents, I was like, if South Carolina was in Roanoke, I would be a Gamecock. And I kind of torn in between, do I want to do sports media, sport management? And then COVID hit, and I had nothing to do, like everybody else in the world, it seemed like. And I just kind of wanted to get out of my comfort zone and found a company that I'm still grateful for today called Fifth Quarter that I applied to be a writer there, and I wrote about Virginia Tech sports and wrote a lot actually, and then started my own podcast, and one thing led to another. And that's what kind of convinced me I wanted to do sports media. And here I am, not exactly sure what exactly I want to do in sports media, but just kind of keeping my options open. So yeah, that's how I got to where I'm at now.
So what's your podcast about?
Well, so I stopped. So that podcast, it was called the Gobble 'em Up Podcast. I had a buddy in high school who was our producer, and ironically enough, he goes to Clemson, but he came up with it. And my brother kind of helped with it too. It was kind of a cute little thing. And I did that my junior, senior year, or I guess the back half of my junior year, and then senior year of high school. I took it a little bit into college, but I quickly found out I did not have the time for it. And I had some other things I had to do here. And that has led to opportunities. Now, the podcast that I'm consistently on now is occasionally I'll make an appearance on the Tech Sideline podcast, and Tech Sideline is one of the premier organizations that covers Virginia Tech athletics that I've been lucky enough to be a part of. And they are so good, particularly Will Stewart, who's the founder and general manager there, is so good about lending students in the sports media and analytics program here at Tech opportunities. And because of that, we have a group of 5 or 6 of us that ended up launching a student run podcast through TSL called TSL Today. And it is like a mini podcast that we do. It's about 15 minutes, an episode, 15, 20 minutes. And we do a show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then we've also, because of NIL, there's a company called Triumph that supports Virginia Tech student athletes, and they are sponsored by, or they're partnered with Tech Sideline. And so we've been able to bring in some of their, I don't know if clients is the right word, but we've been able to bring in some of the student athletes at Tech that are partnered with Triumph, whether it be Liz Kitley on the women's basketball team or Grant Wells, the quarterback for the Tech football team. So that's kind of what it's like from a podcasting standpoint right now. But that's kind of what I started in high school, Gobble 'em Up podcast, and still got some merch. Here, I got it right here. Got some merch to this day from 2, 3 years ago. So
Yeah. So what have you called like broadcast games like when you were in college?
so I've done football, men's, women's basketball, baseball, softball. And then my freshman year, I did men's soccer and volleyball. And this year it has really been one football game for third of the year, four, handful, good chunk of men's basketball games, a couple women's, and then doing a lot of softball here in town as well. So we've been lucky with a lot of different opportunities, and a lot of these programs have been good to us, and that's kind of what we got going on here. So those are the different sports that I've called.
Okay, favorite sport to call and hardest sport to call in your opinion?
My favorite sport, and in a couple weeks ago, I would have said basketball for sure, and I still think I'm on basketball. I really do enjoy the challenge of how fast-paced a basketball game is. And you can kind of, it is a fun game to keep up with. And, it's obviously a high-level sport at in collegiate athletics. And to do games here at Castle Coliseum, which rocks and rolls, one of the loudest atmospheres in the ACC, and other venues, that's a whole lot of fun too. Since we have shifted into baseball, softball season, like I said, I grew up playing baseball, so I've always kind of been a baseball, softball guy at heart. I really haven't done much baseball this year. I'll do some this summer, but I've done quite a bit of softball, or a handful of softball to this point. And softball is a whole lot of fun because it is a faster paced, version of baseball. The girls who play it, especially at the ACC level, are really dang good. And it just is a fun, entertaining sport to watch. So I'd probably still lean basketball, but just because basketball's pretty fun, but baseball, softball is probably a close second. And maybe by the end of the summer, my answer will go back to baseball because I'll be doing so many baseball games. Most challenging sport, I would say in college, it is football. I've not done as much football just because you don't have a spotter and there is so much that goes on, at specific moments of the game that you have to pick up, and you have to know who's who and who's making the tackle and who's carrying the ball. So I'd say probably football is the toughest right now, but yeah, that's kind of how I would differentiate that answer.
Okay. So what's the biggest thing that you've kind of gotten better at this year, like broadcasting wise?
I would say I'm still working on it. From a broadcasting standpoint, is definitely slowing down. I have a tendency, I'm an excited person. I have a tendency to just get very excited, especially in the big moment. And naturally that, forces you to speed up when you're calling a game, particularly in basketball. So I would say I've improved on that, at least from what people have told me, but that is something I want to continue to improve on. But that's probably what I've gotten better at the most. I also think too, just controlling a broadcast and just getting more comfortable being on air. And that's a natural answer, but the more broadcasts you do, you just get more comfortable with, taking you to break, coming back from break, a pregame show, so on and so forth. And I'm surrounded by really good people here too. They're really good at what they do. And so that also really helps you too, because you help push each other. So
Who have kind of been, the mentors that you've kind of learned under?
So I know you had Joey on. I think he described, Bill Roth is the guy who oversees our whole program. He's the voice of the Hokies. He's been here now combined between his two stints, because he's on a second stint for 30 plus years, calls games for ESPN, Westwood One, was the voice of UCLA football and men's basketball for a year. So he obviously is definitely up there for sure. He's kind of the engine that makes the train move. I do feel very close with Evan Hughes, who is the voice of Tech women's basketball and baseball. And he graduated from our program 2 years ago. And he actually won the Jim Nantz Award, which is essentially the Heisman for, collegiate sports broadcasting. So he's definitely up there. Zach Mackey he just finished his first year as the voice of Tech men's basketball, and he does sideline in the pre and post game show for Tech football. He's definitely there as well. He's somebody that we go to consistently, whether it be Evan, Zach, Bill, if we really need them. And then there are plenty of others here, like even from like a mentor standpoint, like I look up to like Giovanni here and Kyle Marshak are like two of my best friends here. And I look up to them from a broadcasting standpoint, but there are a lot of people here as well that have really gained my respect, and I definitely respect in a big way, whether it be broadcasting or writing or podcasting, so on and so forth. So there's plenty of people I can name, but from a broadcasting standpoint, those are the ones that kind of stand out.
So what do you have planned for like the summer and all that?
So I will be in Wilson, North Carolina, which is a little small town, kind of on the countryside, sandwiched in between Raleigh and Greenville in Eastern North Carolina. Really good sweet tea, really good barbecue. So I'm excited about that. And I'll be the voice of the Wilson Tops, which is a team in the Coastal Plains League. So I'm excited to do that and get down there and be the voice of a summer collegiate baseball team for the second consecutive year. I've heard really good things about it, and the people there seem really, really good. And the stadium's cool, has that old baseball history feel. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. I leave in, which is crazy, a little under a month. It's May 10th that I end up leaving to go down there. So I'm excited about that. But yeah, that's what I got coming up this summer.
Yeah. What do you want to accomplish this summer? What are some of the biggest things that your goals for what you want to accomplish when you're down there?
Obviously, the basic answer is you want to get better as a broadcaster, and you want to well verse yourself continuously the best you possibly can, whether it be on the broadcasting side of things or getting used to the technology, or on the writing side or creative and just putting together the best production. But I just would, my answer would probably be to kind of complement that, is just continue to mature, as a broadcaster and a person and just a college student, to get out there and get out of my comfort zone, which is, this is my second straight year being down in North Carolina. The Tops I was not the voice of the Tops last year, so it's a different team, but it allows me to get out of my comfort zone and grow as a person and meet new people and stay outside of Blacksburg for only the second time ever. Because like I said, I wasn't born here, but I grew up here and graduated, in high school here. So I would just stay mature and get better as a person and continue to work on myself and come back for the second half of my college career the best I possibly can be. So that's kind of what I have in mind this summer, and continue to meet really, really new, really good people. I was lucky enough to do that last year. I was in Tarboro, North Carolina down the road, and met some really, really good people there that I'll stay in touch with for forever. So that's kind of what I have in mind, which is probably a little bit of a different answer. Of course, I want to get better as a broadcaster, but I definitely want to get down there and just get better, as a whole, as I, continue on. As I turned 20 in a couple weeks. So, you're only young for so long. So it's nice to get these experiences.
Yeah, you're younger. You're younger for more longer than 19. I'll say.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. But no, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. Well, Carter, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. And best of luck in your broadcasting career. We will definitely have you on again sometime.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Hope everything goes well, and hope these interviews continue to go well too. So I appreciate you having me on.